Welcome to Biztech's Technology Show, where we feature tech companies that are innovating and transforming the technology landscape. Now, today's featured company is Anchanto, a B2B SaaS product company that enables seamless e-commerce logistics and multi-channel selling for online sellers, brands, distributors, and third-party logistics providers. Now, our guest today is Vaibhav Dabhade. He's the founder and CEO of Anchanto. Welcome to the show, Vaibhav.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Now, give us an overview of what you do and your history since you started since 2011.
Sure. Yes, we're completing 10 years next month, 17 June. Bit of history, right, about company and about me. So I'm originally from India, near Bombay, born and brought up there. Did my engineering, worked in a couple of early stage small companies back then. Startup was not a buzzword that time.
Yes.
And then I moved to Singapore in 2003 to work for a French enterprise software company. I was an early employee, worked there for 8 years plus. Eventually, founders decided to sell the company to a private equity. And then I decided to move on and start my own business. I come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Okay.
My grandfather started logistics business. My father continued doing that. So kind of even though I did my engineering, there was always an ambition to start something on my own. So 2011 was a time when then I decided to start a company. Started with a very simple vision that as the businesses are going to go more and more into digital world, as consumers are going to buy more and more online, I believed at that time that the industry would require a completely new set of software and technology tools to build, run, and scale their e-commerce side of businesses. So that was the vision of Anchanto in 2011. That's still the same vision that we have today. But funny enough, we went through a massive detour. We built the first version of our platform, an order management system for e-commerce. We were slightly ahead of our time that time. I managed to sell that to a couple of early customers, but the software was not very practical. It was developed in a vacuum. It was developed without a real experience of running e-commerce and logistics on our own. So it ended up becoming a bit of a flop show.
Okay.
Then we did a very brave move and we decided saying, hey, look, we need to develop better software. We need to develop much more simple to use and practical software. That's why we decided to run our own logistics operations. We decided to take a proper experience of ourselves as an online seller. And we did that. So for 6 years, Anchanto was a services company.
Aha.
I was running a warehouse in Kelana Jaya. I was running a warehouse here in Pasing Panjang in Singapore.
Okay.
We were packing orders for a lot of online sellers.
So that's in your blood. So you're a third generation.
Third generation. So did a warehouse, did the whole logistics show, did the order deliveries. But while we were doing that, the ambition was always to rebuild our entire platform. And we were doing that. So we actually had software engineers sitting in warehouse and building the next generation practical software for running e-commerce logistics. So fast forward, coming to 2017, we had the whole platform ready. And we managed to sell that software to 10 logistics companies.
Okay.
That was a validation that, hey, look, we have this heritage of running logistics on our own, but we are a software company. And we are good in building software.
So how did you split the business then?
So we split business into two parts. We call it horses and donkeys. So services business kept running the lights. Services business kept bringing the cash in the company. And the product business was consuming that to build next product.
Right.
So some part of the development team was actually working on next product. Some part of the development team was working in supporting customers, running warehousing operations, right? So then we decided in 2017 to sell our logistics business to one of our customers, a company called World Fashion Logistics, Italian logistics company. They were running on our platform, and we needed that one event to become again 100% software company. So by the time of end of 2017, we became a 100% software company. I sold my entire logistics business to one of my customers,
Okay.
and then again came back to where we started as a pure enterprise software company. But this time we had much better product. We had a lot of experience of running e-commerce and logistics on our own. We knew exactly what are the pain points. We knew exactly what are the user conditions in which they actually use software in warehouses, in online selling companies. So we pivoted back, right? And today what we are as a company is we are close to now 200 people company with, I would say, 7 years of logistics heritage and 4 years, 3.5 years of software heritage for us. We are headquartered in Singapore as a company. We have a software development center in India, a city called Pune. We have close to 125 software engineers working on our product, building the next versions and new capabilities into our product.
Wow, that's a very significant amount of engineers. So it's 60% of your company is engineers.
Yes, in fact, 66% of Anchanto founders are also engineers.
Yeah.
So we are 4 out of 4. Julian is from finance side, but most of us are engineer. I'm a software engineer. I come from a deep engineering background. Today as a company, we have a direct presence in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Philippines, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Australia. We have a joint venture partner in Korea. And we are in process to set up Anchanto in UK and France as we speak. So as a company, we are providing a software technologies for e-commerce backend operations. So helping businesses to run their multi-channel selling, managing their catalog, processing orders, running massive warehouses. Typically, mid to large size logistics companies, they use our platform to run e-commerce logistics services.
Okay.
Right. We also provide tools to logistics companies to onboard and engage online sellers as their customers. We have a support center distributed across all locations. For every country where we operate, there is a local account management and support team that supports our customer. And in process, we raised close to $27 million funding at different stages of Anchanto.
That's right. And I'm going to come back to you about that a little later on. But in order to understand how your software is used, could you give us an example of a specific customer and how you are partnering with them to enable them to fulfill their needs?
Okay, so maybe I'll give you two examples very clearly that any business can relate, right? So take an example of a brand like L'Oreal.
Okay.
So L'Oreal sells online on marketplaces. Marketplaces are very prevalent here in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And L'Oreal runs official stores, which are operated by L'Oreal, right? Now, to do that, L'Oreal requires an extremely strong backend system to manage their entire data from their backend systems like product, pricing, promotions, and product information like catalog.
Okay.
To bring back that data and push it to all the sales channels for a consistent user experience. So they need that order management system to bring the entire backend product data and push it to e-commerce channels. And same time, they need that order management system to bring all the sales orders in real time from marketplaces or from their boutique store and push that onto their backend systems or to their logistics partner for picking and packing that order. The entire e-commerce of L'Oreal in the region runs on our platform. That's one example from a brand perspective.
Right.
I will give you a second example from a retailer perspective. So you might be familiar with a business in Malaysia called Mydin.
Yes.
Is a department store.
It's a very large retailer, hypermarkets, and then they've got different format stores now as well.
Exactly. So Mydin as a company, they have a huge emphasis on e-commerce. They have a huge footfall of people coming into their hypermarkets and buying products. Same time, Mydin has a strategy to build a digital channels for them. So Mydin selling products on mydinonline.com, Mydin selling products on their social commerce channels, Mydin selling products on marketplaces as well. So to operate all of that, Mydin requires a very enterprise class backend system that includes integration of their all sales channels into a single platform. So they use Anchanto platform to integrate all their digital sales channels, bring all that data into a centralized warehouse and process orders from there. For Mydin, we also provide them a complete catalog management system where Mydin has one centralized team managing all the products, images, graphics, promotions, videos, and then distribute that to all the sales channels where they sell. We also enable for Mydin click and collect, right? Because Mydin has a footfall of people coming to their stores. We also enable Mydin's processing through their current warehouses. So Mydin, of course, has a lot of warehouses to run and store their goods. We have deployed our warehouse management system with Mydin there to run a very synchronized and smooth e-commerce logistics operations for Mydin. So that's the second use case from a retailer perspective. And I'll give you third, very quickly use case from a small logistics entrepreneur perspective. So there is this lady in Malaysia, her name is called Nadra. And she has ambition to build a logistics company for micro SMEs and SMEs. It's a company called Tresgo. It's a Malaysian, a very novel idea and built by these two ladies. Nadra wants to provide a warehouse to micro entrepreneurs and SMEs so that they can focus on selling, while Nadra can offer under name Tresgo picking, packing, warehousing, shipping, returns management services. And luckily, the Tresgo strategy has worked very well, and we've been working with Tresgo right from the beginning. And we enable warehouses of Tresgo with our technology so that they can onboard those micro SMEs and SMEs. They can run pick-pack operations for those sellers using our software.
Now, Vaibhav, I'm interested to ask you, how did somebody like her afford a software solution like yours? Did you do a special pricing model for a small entrepreneur like that?
Okay, so it's a tricky question, right? So when we actually start to work with Tresgo on that front, we knew that the company is very ambitious, and we knew that the company will be very successful. So we had to be a bit creative in terms of the way we packaged our pricing for them, so that they can keep adding more sellers, because the sellers that Tresgo adds also very small sellers. You cannot charge a huge price, right? Yeah. But we had to have a faith that it will grow over a period of time. The number of sellers will grow, number of customers will grow, or some of the customers will outpace the rest of the cohort, right? With that, we worked out on a price that could work for us. Of course, our products are not cheap. We are a premium company.
Exactly, yeah.
We are focused on mid and large market. But when we work with smaller businesses or startup businesses, we kind of take a risk, and we also, it's kind of a blink, right? You see that it will be true and it will be successful and big.
Correct.
That's where we create a more like a long-term strategy pricing with them. And it has worked so far well for us.
Yeah, because, a company like that, and that's a very interesting approach. That's a very entrepreneurial pricing approach, obviously, because it's like you said, they could be very small, and 12 months later, they've got these 20 million VC funding, and they can afford everything, and all they need, then you go back to a normal pricing model for them.
Exactly.
Now, your market space, your software market space has a plethora of competitors. So you've got everything like Acculinks from the US, Layer from Germany, you've got Tectura from India, and a host of other competitors. What makes you stand out for a competition?
I think the most significant one is the one I told you as a part of Anchanto story.
Yes.
We are a logistics company building a software for logistics company. I have worked 7 years in warehouse. My team has worked 7 years in warehouse, going through the entire pain, knowing exactly that how that a warehouse staff, somebody 56-year-old uncle who doesn't speak very fluent English, he probably has a vision issues, and he's using a software on a handheld device in a very low lit area of the warehouse. How do you make sure that particular warehouse users can still use your software practically? And that you cannot do that while sitting in a very nice air conditioning office in the middle of CBD.
Absolutely. A couple of 25-year-olds sitting around in a nice co-working space can never figure it out because they're essentially doing it in a vacuum, as you point out.
Exactly, as you say, right? Never trust a skinny chef, right? So that's our biggest advantage. We have that logistics heritage as a company. We know the pain points. We know the how does the balance sheet and P&L of a logistics company look like. We know that what percentage of their total spend we should pay, and we speak the language. We are one of them, right? So that's one. Number two is that every country that we operate in, we have a local team. So if you talk to Anchanto in Malaysia, you will hear someone like you speaking there, someone who knows the context, who knows the lingos, who knows the buzzwords, who knows exactly what you mean when you use that particular word.
Right.
If you are running a show from US or from India or for that matter any other country, and you're trying to support a user in Vietnam, you're going to struggle a lot.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that everywhere our users use our product, they should not even feel that they're working with a company from Singapore. They should feel that they're working with a company from their country, from Vietnam, for that matter, right? Example. So we give a lot of emphasis on localization, and we believe that people love to work with people. It's much more easier for people to work with the people from their country, their cities, location, and language, and we invest heavily on that to make sure there's always a local team.
Now, can we zoom out a little bit and talk about, from a macro perspective, what are you seeing in terms of key trends and shifts in the markets that are taking place in e-commerce right now?
Yes, so if you look at it, right, you need to start from the beginning. In this part of the world, e-commerce pickup started very early stage with eBay becoming the most dominant. Then there was a phase where Alibaba was the go-to mechanism for a lot of people to buy products. And then came Rocket Internet in 2012.
Yeah.
And they started rolling out ventures one after another. Zalora was one of them. Then there was a RaidMart. Not RaidMart is not Rocket Internet that time, but then Lazada came on board and many,
Yes.
right? So, and now we have for last 18 months is what we have is COVID, right? So COVID has basically put the entire e-commerce adoption on steroids.
Right.
Right. So, and the way we see this transition happening is that none of it is going to go back to the normal stage after COVID. All of this adoption of e-commerce is permanent habit changing adoption. Once people are comfortable with this, when you're buying your fresh produce online, when you're ordering your food online, when you're ordering everything that you need online, right? Those habits are not going to change. So that's number one. People are getting used to it. People are adopting and finding everything possible because you don't want to take a risk. You don't want to go to the mall and buy artwork material for your kids during the holidays now. You
Right.
want to buy that online, right? Because you want to minimize the risk. So first is just these changes are happening too fast because of COVID, number one. Number two is these changes looks like they will be irreversible. Once we are used to it, we're used to it. We're not going to go back.
Yeah.
Retail has come under a lot of pressure. If you look at the revenue per square feet has dropped. The footfall per square feet has dropped everywhere.
Yeah.
Even if people are going to the mall today, they're going straight to where exactly they need to go and come out from there.
Yeah.
In the past, mall was more like leisure. You spend time, you discuss with your friends, you have an ice cream, you watch movie, you take a tea. That all has gone. Now it's go, buy, and come out, right? While this is happening, the social commerce is getting a lot of traction, which we never saw like a year back before. Now, today we see that more and more people are buying, and we as Asian, we like to share, we like to discuss as a group. We
Yes.
like to, even I remember back from my compound days back in India, that when you want to go for a big shopping, you go with few friends or few relatives, right, for that matter. And that behavior of people that they want to share more, we see a more of a social commerce adoption happening.
Vaibhav, where do you see that? Okay, China obviously was really the pioneer in terms of social commerce and streaming and stuff like that. Where do you see that greater adoption in ASEAN?
Number one is Indonesia for sure. Indonesia as a country, they are very, it's a very social interaction driven community or the country there, right? People like to share there. If you see Twitter adoption there is much more massive than the rest of the ASEAN countries there. It's all because of sharing, right? So Indonesia definitely has number one. Number two, we see that the highest adoption of social commerce happening in ASEAN is actually Thailand. Thailand has second highest in terms of growth numbers for us when it comes to social commerce. So definitely social commerce is picking up very fast. Another at the micro level changes, right? We see finally that there's two legacy businesses, logistics and retail. They've been there for donkey years, right? They've always needed there. Those businesses are now finally waking up to a concept of e-commerce. They've been hit very bad, unfortunately. Both businesses are a very heavy fixed cost businesses. Logistics, you store air or you store goods, you still have to pay the rent for your warehouse, right?
That's right.
And same thing for retail store. People come, people don't come, you still have to pay for the rent. So those two businesses, because of COVID, has now changed the plan, and they are going so fast in terms of adopting to the e-commerce. And there's a huge fear of missing out for logistics companies, that they will miss out ultimately to e-commerce boom, and they want to make most of it.
Now, let's talk numbers a little bit. What sort of revenues are you doing right now?
So we generally don't talk about financials as a company, but I will give you some idea, I think, as you're asking for, and then you can make the mathematics. So today we are a cash flow positive company. We raised money last year that was for adoption.
And you've done you've totally raised 27 million. Am I correct?
That's correct. We raised total 27. Out of that, the last that came for $15 million was led by Ascendia. Ascendia is a logistics company with a 1.2 billion euro revenue company. It's a joint venture between Swiss Post and French Post. One interesting fact here, I'll come to the numbers, but just to not to break the link, 90% of the money invested into Anchanto came from Anchanto customers.
Then that's a great testimony to your solutions.
Exactly. So, and I was
as a team.
I was, we call it brave or cheap enough to go to my all customers, key customers, and ask them, hey, do you like my software? Yes, of course you like it. Do you want to invest? And many of them said yes. So Ascendia have been Anchanto customer for 6 years now, so they invested. Indonesia Telecom, their subsidiary, has been Anchanto customer. They invested into us. We then have Lux Asia, one of the largest distribution business for fragrances. They are my customer for the last 4 years. They invested into Anchanto. So it's been that way very unique journey that 85-90% money came from customers. Now coming back to the numbers, right? So we're a 200 people company, cash flow positive. The money that we raise is for the expansion of Anchanto.
And what is the expansion? Where are you looking at? You mentioned that you're going to France, I think earlier in the conversation, France and the UK.
That's correct. So we have gone to those markets because our latest shareholder, for us, India, France and UK are two very big markets for them. They've been a European company, French company. So of course, they're very well known there in France.
And the strategy, will that be a partner strategy or direct model? How are you executing?
We always go direct. Right? So except like certain markets like Korea where we have joint venture. So we don't intend to do any joint venture with our shareholders there as of now. We will have our direct presence. We'll go there. But yes, we'll leverage on the brand name. We'll leverage on the partnership. We'll leverage on the existing network of our shareholders. That's why they invest into us. We generally don't share the revenue numbers, but typically we look at the volume of orders that we process, right? So today we process close to 12 million orders a month on our platform. So we have online sellers. Some of them are based upon the model, based on orders, based on number of users. In terms of the volume, so we have close to probably now 150 million online products like SKUs, stock keeping units, are managed in live using our platform, right? And in terms of the revenue, we've been doubling our revenue year on year for the last 3 years in a row. So we are kind of on that ramp. We are in in a mode where we believe that we have figured out our unit economics, we have figured out our bottom line, we have figured out the mechanism to remain profitable and grow as a company.
And what's the financial strategy then in terms of, is it an IPO? Is it a trade sale? What's the strategy for you from that standpoint?
So we are open for anything at this stage. In fact, if you ask me that, and that's why I give this answer, which is we are open for anything, because it forces me not to think about it.
Okay.
Exit is not at our mind right now. I believe it takes 10 years to build a company. Anchanto, we are 10 years old, but we had that 7 years of heritage of being a logistics company.
Right.
So if you look at the pure SaaS company, we are just 3.5-year-old company.
Yeah, so your early days of your SaaS journey.
Exactly. So we still have like 7.5 years. Most of our shareholders are not typical institutional VCs that they want to flip money in 3 years' time. Most of our shareholders are corporate VCs, and they have a lot of patience and they are supportive. I don't have exit pressure.
Now, final question. Now, you've built this successful business over the last 10 years. What are the key lessons that you've learned in your entrepreneurial journey that you could share with other business leaders and entrepreneurs?
Okay, so we started to follow this thing at Anchanto. So first, I believe that business is a function of people. Right? You take care of your people will take care of your customers, and everything will be taken care of. So we are very people-focused company. Of course, we are ruthless when it comes to communication. We are ruthless when it comes to execution. We call spade a spade, but same time, if we need to weigh between heart and a brain, we of course give more weightage to heart than a brain, right? So people is number one. We want to work with great people. We work with great people, and we hire nice people, expert in their domain. We don't look at the certificates. We don't really look for particular credentials when you hire people. We look for people with the right attitude and potential. That's number one. Number two is what we follow is that put your head down, be extremely focused in what you're doing. So never losing a sight of what we want to do. We want to build a global SaaS company out of Southeast Asia. Right? It should not be always that all the SaaS companies are coming from West.
Yes.
We can build a SaaS company from this small island, from this very diverse region called ASEAN. If you look at here right now, how many SaaS company from ASEAN has cost $1 billion valuation? You'll have to think a lot. You can't find it.
In fact, now you're starting to see quite a number out of India.
Yes, India, yes, for sure. Now there are few.
Not in ASEAN.
But in Southeast Asia, we are good in consumer companies here for B2C companies. Our ambition is to build a global SaaS company that is really meaningful, helping people to solve the problem, and not losing the focus of it. So there were a lot of times, when we lost the focus. There was a condition where we were almost forced to lose focus on our mission. But people, number one. Number two is focus on the mission and kind of keep your head down and do it properly.
Now, Vaibhav, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you very much for coming in.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Brian, for your time. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm Brian Fernandez, and I've been speaking to Vaibhav Dabhade. He's the founder and CEO of Anchanto, on Biztech's technology show. This video will be on our Facebook and LinkedIn sites, as well as our website, www.biztech.asia. Please like and subscribe to our various platforms. Thank you very much for tuning in.